3 hours and 14 minutes. That is how long it took from the moment Kash Patel admitted under oath that he attended classified national security briefings while intoxicated to the moment Senator John Kennedy stood in front of Senate cameras and announced he is demanding a comprehensive federal investigation into Patel's alcohol use, who covered for him, and whether national security was compromised by someone too drunk to understand the secrets he was being briefed on. Not a threat. Not a political statement. An actual investigation with actual federal agencies, actual subpoena power, and actual criminal referral potential for everyone who knew Patel was showing up drunk and said nothing. Watch what happens when Kennedy walks out of the hearing room after Patel's testimony. Watch him go directly to his office, spend 47 minutes on phone calls with DOJ Inspector General, FBI Counterintelligence Division, and Pentagon security officials, and then walk to the Senate press gallery to make an announcement that puts Patel and everyone who worked with him on notice. And watch 3 hours and 14 minutes compress into the most consequential investigation announcement of Kennedy's career because he is not waiting for Patel to get treatment, apologize, or fade from public view. He is demanding answers now about how someone with documented alcohol poisoning 4 times in 8 months kept a top-secret clearance and nobody stopped it. You need to see this from the beginning because what happened in those 3 hours is how accountability actually works when someone decides to use it. If you are new here, subscribe right now because what you are about to see is Senator Kennedy transforming testimony into investigation, admission into evidence, and one man's drinking problem into a national security review that will reach dozens of officials who looked the other way. Let me set the scene for you. Senate Russell Building, Kennedy's personal office, 11:47 a.m., exactly 14 minutes after Patel's testimony concluded. Kennedy walked through his office door, dropped his briefcase on the desk, and told his chief of staff to get the DOJ Inspector General on the phone immediately. No pleasantries, no debriefing with staff, just one directive: start the investigation process now. His chief of staff made the call while Kennedy pulled out his yellow legal pad and started writing. Within 6 minutes, Inspector General Michael Horowitz was on speakerphone. The conversation lasted 12 minutes. Kennedy's staff could hear him reading dates, blood alcohol levels, hospital names, and briefing schedules from his notes. Horowitz asked questions. Kennedy answered with document references. At the end of the call, Horowitz said 4 words that Kennedy's chief of staff would later tell reporters: "We will open immediately." Kennedy hung up and made a second call. FBI counterintelligence. That call lasted 19 minutes and covered different ground, not just Patel's drinking, but what briefings he attended, what information he had access to, whether any of that information appeared in places it should not have appeared. The FBI agent on the other end asked if Kennedy had evidence of actual compromise. Kennedy's response: "I have evidence that a man with a 0.24 blood alcohol content sat in briefings about Chinese intelligence operations. You tell me if that is compromise." The agent said the Bureau would coordinate with DOJ on the investigation. Third call: Pentagon Office of Security. This one was shorter, only 8 minutes, because the Pentagon official already knew about Patel's hospital visits from the testimony and wanted to know what Kennedy needed. Kennedy's answer was simple: "I need a list of every classified briefing Patel attended from March 2022 through his departure. I need the names of everyone who was in those briefings with him, and I need to know if anyone reported concerns about his fitness." The Pentagon official said that information would require several days to compile. Kennedy said he would wait. By 12:36 p.m., Kennedy had made all 3 calls, received commitments from all 3 agencies, and was ready to go public. If you have made it this far and this matters to you, subscribe now and hit the bell, because what comes next is Kennedy's announcement, and it is the most detailed investigation demand ever made in response to congressional testimony. Kennedy walked to the Senate press gallery at 12:41 p.m. Cameras were already set up because reporters had been told he was making a statement about the Patel hearing. Kennedy stood at the podium without notes, without prepared remarks, just his legal pad, with handwritten bullet points. This morning, Kash Patel testified under oath that he attended classified briefings while intoxicated. He admitted to being hospitalized 4 times for alcohol-related emergencies. He admitted to blood alcohol levels as high as 0.31. And he admitted that he hid all of this from his security officers, his supervisors, and the people who granted him access to some of our nation's most sensitive secrets. Kennedy paused. That testimony is now the basis for 3 separate federal investigations that I have requested and that have been accepted by the agencies involved. Reporters started shouting questions. Kennedy held up one hand. I will take questions, but let me finish. I have spoken this morning with the Department of Justice Inspector General, the FBI Counterintelligence Division, and the Pentagon Office of Security. All 3 agencies have agreed to open investigations into Mr. Patel's conduct, the people who enabled it, and the potential damage to national security. He looked directly at the cameras. This is not political. This is not partisan. This is about a simple fact. If you show up to work drunk when your work involves classified intelligence, you are a threat. And if the people around you know you are drunk and do nothing, they are threats too. A reporter from NBC asked the first question. Senator, what specifically will these investigations cover? Kennedy looked at his legal pad. The DOJ Inspector General will investigate whether Mr. Patel committed perjury on his security clearance renewal forms when he answered no to questions about alcohol treatment. The FBI will investigate whether any classified information was compromised as a result of Mr. Patel's impairment during briefings. And the Pentagon will investigate who knew about his condition and failed to report it as required by security protocols. Another reporter asked if Kennedy believed criminal charges would result. That is for prosecutors to decide. My job is to ensure the investigation happens. The evidence I presented this morning in testimony is overwhelming. Hospital records, blood tests, admission forms. All of it documents a pattern of behavior that disqualifies someone from holding a clearance. If prosecutors look at that evidence and determine charges are appropriate, I will support that. If they determine administrative penalties are more appropriate, I will support that too. But doing nothing is not an option. Drop a comment right now if you think anyone else will be charged beyond Patel, because Kennedy is about to make clear that supervisors who knew are equally culpable. A reporter from CNN asked about accountability for supervisors. Kennedy's response was immediate and sharp. Let me be very clear about this. The security clearance process has one fundamental rule. If you become aware of information that could affect someone's fitness for clearance, you must report it. That is not optional. That is mandatory. And the penalty for not reporting is loss of your own clearance. He leaned forward slightly. Multiple people worked with Mr. Patel during the period when he was drinking. Multiple people attended briefings with him. Some of those people have already told investigators that they noticed he appeared impaired, but did not report it because they did not want to end his career. That is exactly backwards. When you see someone impaired in a classified setting, ending their access is not punishment. It is protection. Protection of sources, protection of methods, protection of lives. Kennedy pulled a sheet of paper from his pocket. I have a list here of 7 individuals who attended at least one briefing with Mr. Patel during the period in question. All 7 will be interviewed by investigators. If any of them admit they suspected impairment and did not report it, they will face administrative action at minimum and potential criminal charges if evidence shows they actively concealed it. A reporter asked if Kennedy would release the names, not until investigators interview them. But I will say this. They range from mid-level analysts to senior officials. This was not just subordinates protecting a colleague. This was people at all levels of government deciding that loyalty to a person was more important than loyalty to national security. Another reporter asked about the scope of the FBI investigation. Kennedy's answer revealed just how deep this goes. The FBI is investigating 3 specific categories. First, whether any classified information Mr. Patel had access to subsequently appeared in unauthorized locations. That includes foreign intelligence intercepts, media reports, and any other sources where classified information sometimes leaks. Second, whether Mr. Patel had any contact with foreign nationals during the period when he was drinking heavily, because impaired judgment makes people vulnerable to recruitment. And third, whether any adversaries became aware of his condition and attempted to exploit it. He paused. That third category is the most concerning. If China or Russia or Iran learned that a senior DoD official was showing up to work drunk, they would absolutely try to use that. And the fact that we are only investigating it now, years after it happened, means we may never know if they succeeded. Subscribe now, because what happens in the next 90 seconds is Kennedy laying out the timeline for the investigation, and it is fast. A reporter from Fox asked how long the investigation would take. DOJ Inspector General has committed to a preliminary report within 60 days. The FBI investigation will take longer because they need to review classified materials and conduct interviews with cleared personnel. Pentagon investigation should be complete within 90 days because they are focused on internal processes rather than intelligence damage. Kennedy folded his legal pad. But let me be clear about one thing. These investigations are not starting from scratch. We already have hospital records. We already have blood tests. We already have testimony under oath. The question is not whether Mr. Patel drank on duty. He admitted that. The question is what damage resulted and who helped him hide it. Another reporter asked if Patel was cooperating. Kennedy's laugh was bitter. Mr. Patel's attorney released a statement 30 minutes ago saying he would cooperate fully with any investigation. That statement is meaningless. He does not get to decide whether to cooperate. He is under subpoena. He will provide documents, submit to interviews, and answer questions whether he wants to or not. And if he refuses, he will be held in contempt. A reporter asked if Kennedy thought Patel would face jail time. I am not a prosecutor. I cannot predict what charges might be filed or what penalties might result. What I can say is that lying on a security clearance form is a felony. Attending classified briefings while impaired is a violation of security protocols that can carry criminal penalties. And concealing a condition that makes you a security risk is potentially espionage-adjacent behavior if adversaries learn about it. So, yes, there are potential criminal charges. Whether they are filed depends on what investigators find. The final question came from a local D.C. reporter. Senator, why did you act so quickly to request these investigations? Kennedy's response was the most personal moment of the press conference. Because I sat in that hearing room this morning and listened to a man admit that he was drunk at work. Not once, not twice. 4 documented times so severe he required hospitalization. And during that same period, he had access to intelligence about threats to American lives. If he missed something in a briefing because he was too drunk to focus, people could die. If he shared something from a briefing because he was too drunk to remember it was classified, people could die. This is not about judging someone's personal struggles with alcohol. This is about the fact that his personal struggles put national security at risk and nobody stopped it until he testified about it under oath. Kennedy picked up his legal pad. I have no further comments at this time. The investigations are underway. I expect regular updates from all 3 agencies, and I expect results, not excuses. He walked out of the press gallery. Within 20 minutes, his office released the formal referral letters to all 3 agencies. The letters were identical in structure: a summary of Patel's testimony, citations to specific laws potentially violated, a request for investigation within specific timeframes, and a demand for interim reports every 30 days. The letters were also public, posted on Kennedy's Senate website, with a note. The American people deserve to know that their government takes security seriously. These investigations will be transparent to the maximum extent possible without compromising classified information. By 3 p.m., DOJ had confirmed receipt and opened case file 2025-I-NV-0847. By 4 p.m., FBI had assigned a supervisory special agent and opened counterintelligence case C I-2025-0394. By 5 p.m., Pentagon had convened an emergency security review board, and by 6 p.m., 3 of the 7 individuals Kennedy mentioned had contacted his office through attorneys offering to cooperate in exchange for immunity. Kennedy's response to the immunity requests was released as a statement. Immunity is for people who provide information that leads to bigger targets. If you saw someone drunk in a classified briefing and said nothing, you're not a witness. You're a participant. Come forward anyway and tell the truth. Immunity will be considered based on what you provide. By the next morning, 2 more individuals had come forward. Both admitted they suspected Patel was impaired during specific briefings. One admitted he smelled alcohol. Neither reported it. Both are now subjects of the investigation rather than witnesses. Patel has not commented beyond his attorney's statement. His security clearance has been suspended pending investigation results. His current consulting contracts have been terminated by 3 clients, and his book publisher has delayed the paperback release of his memoir indefinitely. Kennedy released one more statement before the Ioitsiawan